I remember you talking about Jaws, and it really blew my mind because, if you ask somebody, what is Jaws about? Maybe you should just tell the story. What is Jaws about?
Well, okay. So here's the thing about Jaws. So Jaws came out in 1975. Okay. And in 1975, I was 10 years old. My mother would not let me see Jaws. I'm still a little upset about this. Because it's hard to explain to people who weren't there. It's true of the first Star Wars movie too. If you weren't there, you have no idea the impact it actually had. It was like the shot heard around the world. It was back then. There was advertising, but the hype back then was generated by audiences,
right?
Not by studios.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Studios might capitalize on the hype, right?
Of course, yeah. But it was a very natural buzz of like word of mouth. People are just excited enough to tell their friends and tell their friends and so on.
That used to be part of the marketing strategy. Yeah. They wanted word of mouth. So they thought, well, if you make a really good movie that's entertaining, that engages people, they will tell their friends. You're not talking no internet, it's just people telling their friends, you got to see Jaws or E.T. or whatever it is. So it was very different, and the hype was different, and it's hard to explain to people who weren't there what it was like. But Jaws was pervasive; it was everywhere, and I really wanted to see Jaws.
Yeah,
but mom was like, "It's too intense. It's too intense for kids." I believe to this day, had I seen it, it would have been intense. But I also was enough of a film guy. I was already a film guy.
Okay, yeah.
That it would have impacted my imagination in a way that I'm sure would still be working on me, as a lot of things did back then. Like I saw Planet of the Apes, and that still is in there. And I think it would have been one of those defining things.
Sure.
But it ended up being a defining thing in a different way. So in the meantime, the ability to watch movies at home shows up. We get VCRs and VHS and stuff, right? So because Jaws would come on TV after that, but I'm like, I'm not watching it on TV. I didn't want to watch it cut up. I didn't want to watch it with commercials in it. I wanted to have the experience. So when I'm 16 or 15, I see Jaws, and I'm like, oh my God, I think it must have been 15. I was 15 because I had seen the movie Altered States, and I could go on about that. But anyway, Paddy Chayefsky, who wrote that movie, said, oh, that's really just a love story. And it blew my mind at 15. Like, how? But it's this guy who transforms into a creature. And like, how could it be a love story? It didn't make any sense to my brain. I think it was shortly after that I saw Jaws for the first time.
Yeah.
And I watched Jaws and I was like, oh, this isn't about a shark at all. Right. And I remember going to school the next day talking about how great Jaws was. And everybody's like, we all saw it 5 years ago.
I was just going to ask. So you're the one guy who hadn't seen Jaws.
I was the guy who hadn't seen it. Yeah. But
gotcha.
What I got from it was something I wouldn't have gotten at 10, which is what I got from it is I'm like, oh my God, here you have in that story, you have the sheriff who is afraid of the water. That's his whole thing. He's afraid of the water. And his very last line in the movie, after going through this experience, is, I used to hate the water, because what he did was face his fear and conquer his fear. The shark is just giving the water teeth. Right. That's all that's happening there. And so the whole thing is, look, and Aliens has the same thing. Face your fear, conquer your fear. Right. Ripley's having nightmares, right? In that movie, she's plagued by the memory of what happened to her crew and these aliens. And then she faces the queen alien, and her very last line, at the beginning of the movie, she's having nightmares. Into the movie, she's happy to sleep. She's going into hypersleep.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a whole thing. So Jaws is not just about a shark, because it wouldn't be Jaws then. It wouldn't be a movie that we're still talking about. You know how many movies came out in 1975 we don't talk about? Right.
For sure. Yeah.
But we still talk about that one.
Yeah. So Jaws is about a man facing his fear of the water. It's not about a shark.
Yeah. And I would say facing his fear. Sometimes if you get too specific, then what happens is you don't understand. I'll give you an example. So Frank Darabont, who, made Shawshank Redemption, wrote that screenplay and directed that movie. Now, that armature is get busy living or get busy dying. right?
Mm.
And that's shown in the movie a lot of ways. It's illustrated all over the place. And so Andy Dufresne in that movie has this kind of almost supernatural optimism. It's hard to get Andy down because even though he's in prison and things are bad, he's always getting busy living. Right. And you see it demonstrated a lot. Well, what's interesting is that Frank Darabont got a lot of letters from people who were going through hard times. This helped me through my divorce. This helped me through this. This helped me through that. Well, if it had just been about prison,
right,
that's too specific. Right. The story can be specific, but the armature is more general than that. Get busy living or get busy dying. Right.
That transcends the details.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say, yes, Jaws is about a guy getting over his fear of the water, but really it's about a guy facing his fear and conquering his fear. That's more important.
Right.
Because you can take that armature and make a whole different story out of it.